There are a fair number of precipitates settling out of a blend of gasoline and B99 that I picked up recently in Tucson. Some of them are quite large chunks. Here's some more chunks of precipitate that are precipitating out of a blend of biodiesel and gasoline. It's and is 90% biodiesel and 10% gasoline. You can see up here that the blend is a little thinner at the top, and that's, I put the gasoline on top, or 2 gallons of gasoline on top of 18 gallons of B99, which I purchased at a fuel station in Tucson, Arizona. 2 days ago I collected 18 gallons of locally made biodiesel B99 from a fuel station, and then I added 2 gallons of gasoline on top of it, and I noticed right away that there were precipitates forming, and it sat around in my settling tank for 2 days, and now I'm going to draw off the first collection of precipitates, and let's see what we get. As we can see, there's some dark, thick stuff, but it's not too bad. It's relatively clear. Not a huge abundance of it. So now let's just see what we got. So it's fairly dark, but there are definitely some particles floating at the bottom. And let's see if we can get the sunlight going through it so we can see those particles. So there we can see some chunks floating at the bottom of this sample container of biodiesel. And I believe those chunks are what causes the plugging of fuel filters in people who first get started on biodiesel. And it's not that biodiesel is such a good solvent that it cleans out the fuel tank. The problem is that when people start with biodiesel, they have some diesel fuel in their fuel tank, and that diesel fuel causes precipitates to form, to precipitate out of the biodiesel. So my recommendation is to never put B100 in the fuel tank, and always blend a small amount of petroleum distillate such as gasoline or diesel fuel into your biodiesel to force out of solution the precipitates. This is a sample of locally made biodiesel that I collected and blended with gasoline at 10% to force out of solution with the biodiesel components that are not compatible with petroleum distillates. And the reason why I did that is there are a number of reports on biodiesel forums where people who have been making biodiesel for a number of years have had their pickup screen plug on their fuel tank, and then dropped their fuel tank and found there were all kinds of globs of things that had accumulated inside the fuel tank from running biodiesel. And my theory is that what's going on is that periodically they add a petroleum distillate like gasoline or diesel fuel to keep their biodiesel from gelling in the wintertime, and the action of putting a petroleum distillate with the biodiesel forces incompatible components out of solution, and they precipitate out in the bottom of the tank. And indeed, I found when I added gasoline to this sample, some incompatible components precipitated out. So I'm going to now measure the specific gravity and viscosity of this sample. The temperature is 58.8 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 15 degrees C. So we're going to check the viscosity since we can't check the specific gravity. Okay, so it was 37 seconds. This is some of the sludge that came from my blending experiment with B99 biodiesel with gasoline added to it at about 90%, and you can see those big chunks at the bottom are what came out from the biodiesel after adding the gasoline. So I'm very glad that I filtered this blend before I put it into my fuel tank, or all that would have ended up stuck in my fuel tank and eventually stuck in my fuel filter, and people would have said, oh yeah, the reason why your fuel filter plugged up so quickly is because biodiesel is such a good solvent. It cleans your fuel tank out. This is my 27-year-old Detroit diesel 6.2 liter diesel engine starting up at operating temperature on B90. 10% of that biodiesel blend is gasoline, not diesel fuel. As you can see, no smoke. Adding gasoline to biodiesel and waste vegetable oil or any waste oil improves performance and reduces contaminants and reduces emissions, and it also functions as an excellent anti-gel agent for waste oils and biodiesel.